My name is Benjie and I'm with my friend Anthony, and today we're at Okuma and we're super pumped to introduce a brand new reel from Okuma. It's the Tesoro lever drag jigging reel. And I'm super excited about this. I think jigging has taken on a lot of popularity over the last couple of years here in Southern California, but all across the US. Anthony, you want to share with us some of the features of this reel?
Absolutely. So I just got off the boat yesterday and broke one of these guys in, and I'm absolutely in love with this reel for a bunch of different things. And I'm already thinking of ways to get out there and go fish other species with it. What we targeted was the bluefin and the rockfish with it here in the Southern California area. Having that longer machined handle really gives you a lot of leverage. The EVA knob was super comfortable while we were fighting the fish. You know, the dual force drag system out of there was butter smooth, pulling on those bigger fish. We were fortunate with that medium grade bluefin sitting there in that 50 to 80 pound range. Very, very comfortable on these reels. 46 pounds of drag is what this thing's capable of. We didn't need anywhere near that, but it was just really, really smooth. The 5.5 to 1 gear ratio was really comfortable. I was a little worried that it was going to be too fast, you know, after you hook up to a good sized fish, but the way they put in their triple anti-reverse system, it's a double AR bearing backed with a ratcheting anti-reverse system, just absolutely incredible. Took a lot of that pressure off. You were able to just consistently turn that handle and keep turning it, and you didn't feel the high gear ratio in there. It felt very, very smooth the whole time.
So Anthony, you mentioned you were fishing rockfish and bluefin.
Yeah.
With this particular reel, what would you say that this was most suited for in terms of the style of fishing when it comes to jigging?
So you can really get away with doing both. You know, the slow pitch jigging, you know, you can kind of get away with doing a lot with it. This here will do the speed jigging stuff really, really well, which I feel like that's the one that's harder to get right. You know, the slow pitch you could do with a lot of different reels, but this reel will do the slow pitching really well, but it excels at that speed jigging stuff, that higher gear ratio, allowing you, as you're pumping, you know, you don't have to get a full turn around, so you're not getting all that fatigue. Just little quarter turns, half turns are more than enough to keep up with that line as you're pumping and working that jig.
Awesome. When it comes to spooling up this reel with braid, what recommendations do you have in terms of the range of size braid that you would want that's optimal for spooling up on this thing?
So based on what species of fish you're targeting in your area, you're going to want to match that braid to there. If you're fishing really deep, I recommend going, you know, that 20, 30, 40 pound braid. If you're going to be fishing like that mid-range stuff, you know, 50 and 60 pound braid is fine. I had a PE5 on here, which would translate into about an 85 pound braid, but with that PE line I was using, it was really, really thin diameter PE5. So, you know, if you put 50 pound braid on here, you're going to have somewhere in there about 450 to just shy of 500 yards based on the brand. They're not all perfectly the same diameter, but 50 pound braid on here does really well. If you need the extra, you know, strength, you could bump up to like say 60 or 65 pound braid on there and still get a good bit of line.
Okay, awesome. So this reel, it seems like it's going to be actually really, really good for both functions when it comes to, you know, deeper water rockfish. And that applies anywhere from our Southern California waters, Northern California, Florida, even all across the US, you would say?
Yeah, I actually, first thing I did when I got off the boat was start planning my trip up to NorCal to go get some of the lingcod off of their deeper water. They have a bank opening up this year I'm pretty excited to go check out, so that reel will be accompanying me up there. You know, I'll be taking it down to Baja with me to go do some of those yellowtail and the cabria and the different grouper species down there. I mean, I see so many applications for this reel just being so compact and so strong, but really where this reel excels is just how smooth it is under pressure. So if you're fishing a bigger fish, you're not fighting the gear's actually working for you.
So sorry to cut you off, but you mentioned gear ratio, and that's really something that I'm very curious about. So, you know, in some of the past videos that we've made regarding bluefin fishing and night jigging, gear ratios seem to be a big deal, and we strongly recommend 2-speed reels. Now, with the high-speed jigging at night, a lot of these reels are single-speed reels. So can you explain gear ratios for us and why this still works for your nighttime speed jigging?
Absolutely. So I'm still going to recommend the 2-speed reels, especially if you're just getting into the bluefin side. But if you're looking for, you know, something a little different to mix it up and some lighter weight gear and seeing how big of a fish you can tackle with a really small reel like this, I mean, it's pretty compact.
No, it's pretty compact, yeah.
The way they set up the internal system is it alleviates a lot of the pressure under a heavy load. So as you're fighting those fish, that 5.5 to 1 gear ratio is really gonna be smooth. You can, at every turn of the handle, it's gonna go around 5.5 times. So that would traditionally be way too fast to sit there and comfortably fight these fish without getting fatigued. But because of the internal technology in here, you don't feel it. You get the benefits of being able to wind your jig in fast. If the captain says wind them up, you're not there all day winding in a really slow single speed reel. You get the benefits of being able to work a jig and keep up with that line. But then under that load, you could just keep turning that handle so comfortably. I was really, really impressed with it.
Yeah, and I realized when fighting these bluefin, that's a big deal, is just getting the gear ratio right. And so I think that's why we love the Okuma reels, like the Makaira and offerings like that. But so it sounds like it's a similar thing. It's very thought out, and the gear ratio that this reel has is ideal for pulling on some of those bigger bluefin. Yeah,
I mean, we definitely looked at, you know, a lot of competition. We looked at other stuff on the market, and we didn't want to come in and be underperforming, you know, what it should be. We've definitely done a good job with this reel of making sure that the pressure under load, that's the key thing here, is while you're fighting a fish, big or small, you do not feel very much pressure at all. It is so easy to continue to turn that handle and gain that line. With the drag specs that are in here, absolutely crazy. I mean, we can definitely winch a fish in. It is so strong. Oversized gearbox on this little thing. The gears in there are super strong, very big, a lot of leverage out of this reel.
Yeah, so Anthony, I think correct me if I'm wrong, but as Anthony is talking about resistance, I think that when it comes to bluefin fishing, for some of you guys that might be newer to the game, wanting to catch your first tuna, a lot of times the hardest part of getting that fish onto the boat is that straight up and down. It's like the last 10% of the fight. You can see them doing their death spirals, and that's when you feel the most weight on your rod and reel. And so if you don't have the right gear ratio, it's really hard to make that crank to just pull them in. So I think when he's talking about less resistance, it's just a lot easier to make those cranks during the death circles. Is that accurate?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, so man, as you talk about these specifications, I'm so excited to get one of these in my hands and do some fishing with it, both on the bottom, and my dream is to actually be able to pull a fish on this speed jigging at night. So that's gonna be a definite goal for me.
Yeah.
Are there any other key features that you want to highlight before we close out?
Yeah, I think I don't know if we talked about the spool lockout system. It is there in case you do get stuck in the bottom. Very, very important feature, you know, as we fish these jigs in deeper water, maybe lighter line, you know, being able to put that on and take the pressure off from trying to thumb the spool to break off. Put that lockout system on there and you could really just break away and get back to work. I see applications for this all over. This reel is going to be put to the work this year for sure in my arsenal.
My goodness, thank you so much for sharing all that information. I'm super excited to get this in my hands. If you want to learn more about the reel, check out okumafishingusa.com. Hope you can check it out.